Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's Saturday morning. 19 degrees outside in my at here, but the sun is so shiny and so bright. I love it. Okay, so I'm not going to go outside and play in the yard or anything, but just like the cats, I'm going to sit here and bask in the glow of the sun rays. But not right now. Excuse me. Right now, you and I are going to talk about motifs. Um, oh, good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Cindy. Saw that wonderful family photo. I love it. And um, Barb, did you get the message for the link and were you able to share it? Thank you so much for thinking about that. I appreciate it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so motifs. What is a motif? A motif is a repeating pattern. Some of your home sewing machines have motifs. They're probably in the specialty stitches. I remember on my sewing machine, little ducks that used to, for children's borders on like their little girls' dresses or aprons or something. Um, but those were built into the machine. There wasn't anything I could do with those except, make a stitch, a straight stitch. Oh, good, Barb. Thank you. Um, but in the embroidery world, we can take those motifs and do so much more with them. And today we're going to talk about motifs in Wilcom 4.5 plus. I say plus because right now they're on Wilcom 4.5.8. So, but any of the Wilcom 4.5s should handle this for you. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and bring our screen up. Y'all know that I'm kind of slow at this kind of thing. I'm not the techie person that some of those other nerds are. Yeah, that was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the embroidery nerds. Okay, ta-da! So this is a cute little bit that I thought might be fun to do. I did make some slight edits. Just for the record, this is a piece of is a clip art graphic that I found through a Google search. It is a free for personal use graphic. Just want to get that out there. Now, for our motif, remember we want this motif, we want to repeat one after another, which means that they need to be connected some way. So what I did with this graphic, oops, suppose it help if I were scrolling on the right screen. I took it into, yeah, still working on it. Sorry about that. I took it into graphic software and I made a slight edit. Okay. So now our little boy and girl are holding hands. Yeah. And yeah, she's missing a hand over on the far side. But as we repeat, that particular line is going to, this area here is our start point. If this is our end point. And if we put another little boy and girl over here, use your imagination, but her hand is actually going to start where his ends. Okay. And that's how we're going to get our line of repeat. Oh, while we're here, before I go too much further, if anybody has any questions, I know my head's going to be down here into the monitor, into my drawing tablet. But if you have any questions, pop them off in the comments and I'll watch for them and address them as they come up. Okay. So we don't want, we can make a motif any size we want. Oh, gosh. I jumped right into the making of the motifs. Let's use some first. Yeah, okay. So how do you use a motif? Well, Wilcom 4.5 comes with some built-in motifs. And there are actually two ways you can use them. You can use them as a fill, or you can use them as like a border or a running stitch. Let's go ahead and just create one big old box here. Yep, there it is. We're going to change its color. Yeah, I like that color. Um, we might change the color again once we get our motifs in there. In Wilcom, with with your filled area that you want to use your motifs, you're going to go up here into your filled um, technique options. This one is motifs. If we click on that, the um, the system's going to pop up with motif fills, which is what we want. It's coming straight out. And then we want to pick a motif. And if we click here, that's where all the motifs are listed. We get all of those. Now, there are also a whole list of different sections, but we're just going to stick with the first one. Easy enough, right? And then we're going to go through and we scroll through and we say, oh, this is cute. It's going to look like bubbles. And we click on it and we click on it. Of course, we have to have something selected. Okay, so we have selected our filled area. We're going to our motifs, and now we have our bubbles. Look at that. Yep. Yeah, maybe the bubbles are too busy. Do we need to make that darker? Yes, there we go. Maybe the bubbles are too busy for what you want. Let's pick a different motif. Oh, here's one. Looks like clouds. And in your motif settings, you can rotate by degrees. All right. So that was easy enough, wasn't it? Whatever motif is in your system, you can use as a motif fill in anything you've got. These would be kind of cool with quilting. You know, when you make your block, you're doing a in the hoop quilting technique, and you need to quilt that that block. You can use a motif to do that. You can use any motif you want. Yeah. And then, of course, you know, you can make it bigger, make it smaller. Don't go too small. Too small, and you get too many threads all bunching up. So, anyways, that is a simple, very simple tutorial in doing a motif fill. Right? Easy enough. And of course, you know, doing a motif run is just the same, only you're doing it on a running stitch instead of a filled. So we're going to select our running stitch and we are going to make a run. Of course, be nice if you could actually see it because I went off screen. Ta-da! All right, there's our running stitch. What do you think? Yep, that's it. Now, just like with the, just, oh, we've got some new people in here. Who we got? We have Jamie, who's new to this. TMG. Jesse, good morning, Jesse. Good morning, Kay. Everyone, oh, Cyclone, West Virginia. Alrighty, so back to our line. So here we have our line, and just like with the filled motif, we're going to go to this icon right here. That is a running stitch motif. And again, just like the others, we can choose the motif we want. Of course, it needs to actually work. Um, Here's one that I'm pretty proud of. You know, when I started doing embroidery, I always needed rope, and I wasn't really thrilled with the rope technique that was being used. It was very flat. Um, it had no dimension. I like this rope, so I created this rope. Where'd it go? And I created this rope using the technique I'm going to show you. And of course, I have several ropes depending on the size of the element I need to use. Come on. So, anyways, that's all you need to do to use the line, use a running stitch motif. You just need to put a line where you want the motif to run. Go into the motifs. Let's see if we can find a scallop. Da, da, da. I know there's one in here somewhere. It's probably in one of the other categories. Oh, here's a nice scallop. There you go. Does that remind you? For those of us that are in the older category, when we were kids, our uh, crafty mothers or grandmothers who would make us little dresses um, would put a rick-rack edging. Do you guys remember that? Yeah. Looks like the rick-rack my grandmother used to use on the collars, little Peter Pan collars. Okay, now I've really dated myself, right? Yeah, exactly, Barb. Rick-rack. I knew you would know. We both know. Okay, so now we know how to use a fill motif and a running stitch motif. Easy peasy, right? What do they say? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, I'm sure what most of you are here for is to learn how to create a motif, right? All right, I'm going to get rid of that one. Going to get rid of that one. And we're going to go back to our little boy and girl. Okay, so just to recap, um, we started out with this graphic. This is, like I said before, this is a graphic that I found doing a Google search. And this graphic is free for personal use. All right? Personal use means that whatever I do with this graphic, I am not going to sell it. Okay? Coffee break. But if you noticed, on all of those motifs, one of the reoccurring themes is they were all connected so that you could go all the way, you could repeat them. Okay, that's what we're going to learn today. And this is the part of the 4.5 plus, Wilcom 4.5 plus, where you may need to order the motif element. In fact, here, let me see if I've got that. Yep. So yeah, it's an additional element for any of the advanced features. Now, for those of you who don't have the element yet, for those of you who may be interested in purchasing the element, I want to strongly suggest, unless you have an absolute need, you have to have it today, I would strongly suggest waiting until they have a sale. And they always have seasonal sales, like Christmas is coming up. They're going to have like a buy one, get one sale. Otherwise, this little puppy will cost about $400. Wait for the sale. Now, if you have to have it right away, call the salespeople and ask them, listen, I'd really like to have this element. Is it on sale? When will it go on sale? How soon can I buy it at the sale price? Don't pay retail for it. Okay, Jamie, that's a great piece of information, because I bet at this point you could still go back to them and say, listen, I wasn't able to get you at your Black Friday sale. Can I still get that sale price? Like I said, do not pay retail for these things. All right. So, yeah, you got to have the element to do this next part. But the next part, it is pretty, if you find that you may want to do a lot with motifs, if you find that you want to do a lot of motifs, it might be worth the dollars. All right, going back to here. Chris, I know your question was directed at Barb. Um, I want to I want to mention that I am currently learning FTCU. For those of you that don't know, that's the Floriani digitizing software. And again, an awesome, amazing software. Um, and one of my goals with learning the FTCU is to create, in Floriani, they call them assets, which are pre-programmed bits of design, which is pre-programmed bits of design that you can add to your digitizing elements. Okay, if it's not 50% off right now, keep bugging them until it is. All right. Okay, so back to our little boy and girl. I thought the little boy and girl would be kind of cute. Um, so again, but it's not connected. So again, what I did was I took them into a graphic software and oops, I connected them. All right. And I had something else I wanted to try today that I hadn't tried before. Um, I actually created the design file in another software that I have. I know we've talked about this. I have a few software. I have a few different digitizing softwares, but they all do something special that I really like. So I keep them around. So, anyways, um, I created this design file for this little boy and girl using a different software. Now it's got one little hiccup because, I can't bring it into Wilcom as a native software because Wilcom doesn't read that software native format. So I have to bring it in as a machine file. The one thing it's got going here is this little bit here. We're going to technically just kind of ignore that. I'm not going to sit here today with you and fuss until I get rid of that dot. So we're just going to pretend it's not there, even though it's going to carry forward. The thing that I liked about this other software is it does a true merging. In Wilcom, um, they call it branching. In the other software, it's merging. But it actually does a true merging, meaning that this triple stitch will not exceed, will not, every stitch will have 3 layers. and it's in its pathing and its programming that it decides, determines how that works. So I brought this design into our software. Here we go. And as you can see, we have the hands are connected here. That's good. We're going to unlock it over here. I locked it so it wouldn't move. Um, what it doesn't tell you, though, is it doesn't tell you where the start and stop are. Now, I know where the start and stop are, but if you're working with a piece of machine file that you want to make into a motif, you're not going to know where the starts and stops are based on the actual file. So you're going to have to virtually run it to find out. So we're going to do that. So we're going to start here, and of course I've got this thing on super fast. Okay, so started here in the center and then jumped over here to her arm, which means technically our start is right there. Now we're going to go all the way to the end. Remember, we're going to pretend that that line isn't there. And you see he's running. There's our boy, his hat, coming back down. And look, it's ending right there. Can you see that dot? Can you see? It's right here. Okay. So our start and stop is in its correct place. Now, we're going to create the motif. One thing we need to make sure of, like I said, is that our start is at one side and our stop is at the other side where we want the two to meet, to connect. We need to select the element we want to create as a motif. We've done that. You see the bounding boxes around our piece. Let me make this just a little bit smaller for you. All right, so you see the bounding boxes that are around our piece. And then up in here, under Object, there is a drop-down menu. Under that, in that drop-down menu is a Create Motif. We're going to click that. Now, I already have a motif file set up. You can create a name for your own file area. In fact, I have a couple. Or you can add your motif to any of the others listed. So where do we want to put this? We're going to just go ahead and put it in there. And what are we going to call it? You're going to just give it a short name. It doesn't need to be anything long or elaborate, just a short name. And we're going to call this Kid. Kids. Two kids, right? So we're going to call this Kids. And then we're going to say okay. Here's where the tricky part comes. Okay, you said okay. Now you need to tell the software where your start boy. I'm sorry, I was reading Kay's message. We're going to pause for just a second. Yes, Barb, this would be great for mug rug quilted mug rug designs. And Kay, will the boy's hat connect when multiples? No, I don't believe so. Shall we see? All right. So here's the tricky part. We've selected our box. We've selected our design that we want to create a motif with. We have given it a name. We've pressed OK. Now we need to tell the system, we need to tell the software where to start. Where's our start point? And if you recall, we wanted to make sure that our start was at the girl's arm on the left. And we need to tell it our end point. And do you see how I'm being very careful to make sure that line is exactly across from the start? I selected our endpoint. And now it says that the kids motif has been created in miscellaneous RM. Okay, we just created a motif. Now, just because we created it does not mean that's baby kitty. She wants to get in the sun. So, anyways, does not mean that it's correct yet. And the only way we can know if it's right is to test it. So let's go to a new design page. All right, let's draw a line. Just a simple line. Right? We're going to select our line. And remember, just like before, we are going to select the motif run settings. In our set, we're going to select our miscellaneous RM. And we're going to select our kids. I have two kids here. I know. I have two motifs titled kids. One is using an uppercase K and the other one is not, which is why there are two of them. And it didn't overwrite the first one. So we're going to select kids. And oh, K, you're so smart. You saw that, I didn't. So his hat did not connect, but it is going to punch her in the face, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay. So what can we do to fix that? How can we change that? Well, unfortunately, because I created this design file in another software, I can't really make an edit here. I can try. Let's see what happens if we delete some of those stitches. Oh, come on, kitty. Get off the desk. Shall we try this again? Yeah. Experience K. Thank you. You saw that. That was awesome. Kay evidently has experience with this type of motif. Kay, do you think I'll be okay this time with a shorter bill on his hat? Okay, so we're going to do this again. We have selected our design element. We've gone up here to Object, Create Motif. We already know, because we've already used miscellaneous RM, it's automatically come back up. We're going to call it Kids again because we're going to overwrite the first one. We're going to say, okay, motif already exists. Do you want to overwrite? Yes. Start. End. Kids has been created. So we're going to change this motif to something else. And then we're going to come back to kids. Are you ready? Okay, I'm hoping that no is no, it's not going to hit, or not necessarily no, don't do that. Oh. Okay, people. So, someday I'll create the kids and we'll get it working. Uh, is the tie-off stitch repeated? You know what, Chris? I bet you're right. When I created this, yes, there was a tie-off stitch, which is probably what that line is. Um, however, however the design file was created, whether you've created this design file by digitizing it yourself or you're bringing in a machine file that you want to use as a motif, however that design file was created is how it's going to save as the motif. So if you created your design file with tie-ins and tie-offs, yes, they're going to repeat with every change, with every repeat. Um, if you do not have the tie-ins or tie-offs, it will not. But the thing is you want to start with a tie-in and you want to end with a tie-off. And you can't set the motif to say only tie in at the very beginning and only tie off at the very end. Does that make sense? Let's see. And again, let's look at a motif that I created. Oh, chicken wire. Never know when you might need chicken wire. Of course, they didn't call it chicken wire. They called it a uh, part of the beehive once it was all done because we used it to create, let's see, I know I'm going off into left field here. We used it to create a little beehive. And of course, we rotated it a little bit. Yeah, that was the background for a design file. That worked out pretty good. But anyways, let's go back. Let's see what this one will tell us. I'm going to take this down. Yeah, I didn't put tie-outs in here. All right. We can do this again, right? Let's do an experiment. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of that. We'll just create a simple dot. Okay, right? Here it is. We'll blow it up a little bit. How big is that dot? Oh, 8. Yeah, we don't need it that big. Let's just make a little 6mm dot. Okay, so there's our dot. We need to establish where our starts and stops are. So start is up here, stop is down here. We don't want that for our motif, so I'm going to turn it just a bit. All right, now our start is here and our stop is here. That's good. Oh, come along, little doggy. Okay, I have a confession. I can't always remember how to see my tie-offs. And I thought it was up in here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so this is a tie-in. This is a tie-off. We go to our connectors and we turn it off. Let's see, tie-in. Okay, says they're off. All right, which means it wants to start in center here. Doo, doo, doo. Okay, so select our element. Select our object, create a motif, our name. We're going to call it dot, D-O-T, dot, dot. Come on, T. Thank you. Okay. Start. End. Dot has been created. File. Line. Get rid of our hoop. Motif. Miscellaneous. Dot. All right. This will prove out this thought regarding our tie-ins and tie-outs. Okay. That's the underlay. Are y'all still with me? Let's see. Yeah, it did not tie in. Did you see that? Start again. Comes down. Did not tie in. Sewing and listening. Thank you, Cindy. Okay. Let's see if we can go a little faster here. There's our satins. Get to the end. And it did not tie out. So, does that answer our question? Okay. So if we recreate this and we put our tie-ins and our tie-outs, they will come across in the motif, just like our underlay did. Okay. Kay had another question. If you have a sharp corner or sharp bend, how will it handle? Well, just like making any stitch, you have to remember that the machine is only making one stitch, one type of stitch. It's making a straight stitch. It's going from point A straight over to point B. It can't make a curve between point A and point B. Okay? Now point B becomes A and B. It's a straight stitch. So if your corner is too tight, your straight stitch, instead of going from A to B, might calculate and go from A over to C. And that's going to hold true. That's going to hold true whether you're doing a simple running stitch or a satin or a motif. All right. Let's go ahead and do. Yeah, I got to come back here for you too, huh? Don't I? Oh, Jamie. Yes. I would keep the tie-ins and tie-outs. Yes, but it's not going to trim. Remember, your trims are generally set to where it will only trim if the jump exceeds 2 millimeters. Well, there's no millimeters. It's going from one straight into the next. But I would keep the tie-ins and tie-outs unless you want to manually add them after the fact, at the very beginning and at the very end. Um, but I would keep them because the motif is not going to have them programmed in unless you program them in. Okay? Exactly how you create that element is exactly how it's going to repeat every time. So if you don't have a tie-in, you may lose that very first dot and the very last dot if you don't have a tie-off. So in my world, I would add the tie-ins and tie-offs. And thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoying all the great info. I try. Okay. I want to help people with all of this. Okay. So, are there any other questions regarding motifs, how to use them with Wilcom, how to um, use the fill, use the run, how to create a new motif? Again, remember, you have to have that element. The nice thing about the element, if you should ever decide, here, I'm going to change this motif to these squares. Look at this. I use this motif that I created for dashes. Sometimes you have somebody's got a little dash border. Oh gosh, you can't see it, can you? So sorry. So this is a motif I created that for dashes, but it doesn't look like dashes, does it? Well, with the add-on element, I can change the size of my dash and I can change the space of my dash. So now what's going to happen is it's going to stitch, move over, it's usually one big stitch, stitch, move over, stitch. So now I have dashes. Yay! So that's one of the things that the element can do for you. Otherwise, you're using the built-in motifs in the system. Okay, so um, this week I was supposed to. Oh, you like that, Cindy? Yeah, it can be very handy. Um, just like my rope, I do the same thing with my rope. Um, so this week I had planned to talk to you about marketing, not just any marketing, guerrilla marketing. Any of you familiar with that term, guerrilla marketing? It's not your standard marketing. Let me come back to you here. It's not your standard marketing technique. Guerrilla marketing is the outside the box technique of marketing. And that's what I want to share with you next week, since we didn't do it this week. Since the question of motifs came up earlier in another another discussion thread, we pushed that back. So next week, let's learn about guerrilla marketing. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If you have any other questions regarding motifs, give me a shout out. I'll do my best to help you figure it out. All right, then. Thank you for being here this week. I really appreciate it. We're going to do guerrilla marketing next week. And, if you have a question, just ask and we'll talk about it. Bye now.
Wasn't that fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quicktostitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and business. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.